Hi, today I am going to show you how to make a dragon lantern for the Lunar New Year, which is coming up very soon. The first thing I want to do is go over the supplies that you are going to need. You received this in your last packet. You can go ahead and unpaperclip that. You have a dragon template and you have 2 pieces of construction paper. There are some additional supplies that you're going to need to have on your own. To color your dragon, you're going to want to have something to color. You can use crayons, you can use markers. If you happen to have colored pencils, that is great too. Anything that you want to use to color your dragon. You will also need a pencil for later on, and you will need some sort of a straight edge. A ruler is great. If you happen to have a ruler, that is going to be perfect. If you don't have a ruler, I think you all have whiteboards and you'll be able to use the edge of that whiteboard to help you. Also, you will need to have a pair of scissors. It should be a pair of scissors that your student can use, hopefully, because we do want the students to do most of the work on this project. We really want them to use this project to practice a lot of different skills, including cutting and drawing straight lines. Let's see, other things that they will need to complete this project is a glue stick and then either a stapler. I tend to use a stapler for the project, but you could also, if you don't have a stapler, you could also use tape to complete it. So those are the supplies you're going to need. Now, the first thing I want to say is with this lantern, in the classroom, it usually takes 3 to 4 days, not the whole day, but 3 to 4 sessions of about 30 to 40 minutes. It's not something that you're going to expect or to finish in one sitting. So don't feel like you have to sit and just do the whole thing. You can do part of it. You can pause this video. You can come back to it on another day. That is perfectly fine. So it is multi-step and it does take a long time. So I'm going to start with the coloring. So we're going to start, the first step is to color our dragon. I have decided that I am going to use markers for this particular one. Sometimes I use crayons, but this time I'm going to use markers. And when you're coloring your dragon, you can color it any colors you want. That is totally your choice. So I'm going to make some decisions. You might do it completely different. You can use crayons, but you want to make your dragon really, really colorful. For the Lunar New Year, the things are really, really colorful. There are a lot of reds. We've got the reds here. I'm actually going to set this aside just so that my color doesn't bleed through it all. So I'm going to just start, and I'm going to do it really carefully. And I'll be taking my time as I'm coloring my dragon. Remember, I don't have to finish it in one session. I'm going to kind of go around and do this little beard part. And I'm going to do some green too. And like I said, you can do whatever colors you want and you can take your time. You do not have to rush. You want to make it as neat and, like I said, as colorful as you can. And now I am just kind of adding in the finishing touches with my coloring. Got my dragon completely colored in. This took quite some time. There's a lot of different parts to this dragon. My yellow isn't very bright, so I'm trying to add a little bit more to the yellow. Of course, you can leave parts white if you want to. I decided to leave the teeth and the smoke white, but if you want to color that in, that is totally your choice. Okay, our next step is to go ahead and to cut out our dragon. So I'm going to grab my scissors. Now, notice that I didn't color around here. When I made this dragon template, I decided it would be too hard to try to cut in each little part. There's a reason why having this smoother line on the outside is going to be helpful. You will see it later on when we get to the gluing part. But if you decide to color on the outside where I left it white, of course, that's no problem. But we're going to cut around this edge. And it's a smoother edge, so it's a little bit easier to cut. And it's also going to be a little bit easier to glue when we get to that part. So here we go. And I'm just practicing. And I turn my paper as I am cutting. It's a great chance for everybody to practice their skills cutting. And we're going to be doing some cutting later on. So don't lose those scissors. And we have our dragon cut out. I'm going to make sure my scraps don't go on the floor. And I'm going to go ahead and put them in the trash can. And right now I'm going to take my dragon and I am going to set my dragon aside. We are done with our dragon for the moment. So I'm going to set it aside. And I'm going to take one of my sheets of red paper. Now, here, grown-ups, is where you're going to want to jump in and do this for your student. It is fine for you to help them to understand what they need to do and kind of help them with the logistics, because this is a really tough thing to do for first graders or for any student. But let them do it. Let them try it. Even if it's not perfect and the lines aren't perfect, let them do it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this red paper. We're going to take our ruler. I'm going to use a ruler, but like I said, if you have a straight edge and are just using the side of the like whiteboard, that's fine too. I recommend you use a pencil so that you can erase if there's any mistakes. I am going to use a Sharpie though, because just so it will show up better on camera. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to look at it horizontally and you're going to want to place, and it doesn't matter which end you do it because we can turn it. And I'm actually going to turn it sideways. This is something important. I'm going to turn it this way. As a right-handed person, that's going to be easier, and your student might be left-handed. So you decide and figure out how to adjust the paper. You're going to be making a line along the edge here, but we want to use the edge of it. So I recommend, we want it to be a straight line. So I recommend lining the ruler up, and a ruler's width is about perfect. If you're using, say, the whiteboard, you'd want it to be about like, 2 kids' fingers width there, and then you would go along the edge because you want about, what would end up being about a 1-inch margin right there. I'm going to use the ruler though, so I line the ruler up against the edge. And this is an important skill. Just that idea with the non-dominant hand to press down on that ruler while you put your pencil, mine's a pen, against the other edge and you draw a straight line. I'll give you a moment. You're going to want to do that. I'm going to put the cap back on my pen. Okay, so you have that line. Now, once you have that line, we're going to make a hot dog fold, but we're going to want that line to be on the outside. So I'm going to flip the paper over and I'm going to make a hot dog fold. Just like that. I've got my edges here. I only have a line on one side. Since I can see this, this is perfect. Now, we're going to do some more lines on here. I'm turning it sideways. Just helps me a little bit as a right-handed person. You're going to be making lines from the fold and stopping at the line that we just drew. So I'm going to put this down once again. If you're using a ruler, usually the width of the ruler works out pretty nicely. If you're using a whiteboard to kind of do it, you're going to want about 2 finger widths to draw your line. So here we go. And you'll see what we're doing. I'm going to press down and I'm going to go from, now the way I have it angled, I'm going to go from the line to the folded edge. Sometimes we go from the edge to the folded line. It just depends on how you've angled your paper. I pick it up. I'm going to line my ruler up right where I had that last line I made. I'm going to press it down and I'm going to make another line. And I'm going to keep doing that until I get to the end. So I line it up here. Now you'll find I kind of got lucky on this one. Sometimes you end up with like a really narrow one or a really fat one. Just kind of make a judgment call. They don't have to be perfect. We want them to be about the same. But as you can see, this one's a little bit more narrow. That's totally okay. Now, here's where we're going to get our friend, the dragon, back. First, we're going to open this up. And it doesn't really matter which way you go. So it doesn't matter if your lines end up being down or end up being up. It's all going to be the same. You're going to press it down and then you're going to get your glue stick and you're going to glue your dragon on to the back side of the paper. So your lines are on this side. You're going to glue your dragon on back here. And here's where you want to use lots and lots and lots of glue. Don't be sparing with the glue. You want to cover all of the dragon. Usually when we do glue sticks, we do just, a couple swipes and we go, okay, we're good. You want glue everywhere. So I am going to glue all around the edges. I want there to be glue everywhere on this dragon. And then I'm going to fill in all of the space. And even doing this, it probably won't be perfect at the end. Something's going to come unglued. It just happens. But you want to fill in every spot with glue. You want it pretty goopy with glue. Then you turn it over and you put it right about in the center. I think the most important thing is to make sure there's a little space at both ends and press it down. Now, what you're going to want to do too is make sure you don't have any little loose edges. I did pretty good. I don't have any little loose edges, but if there's any little edges sticking up, you're going to want to put a little glue there and glue those down. So this is really solid. I'm going to put my cap back on my glue stick and set it aside. Now, dragon is on one side, lines are on the other, and that's what it should look like. You're going to fold it back in half now. And here is another scissor moment. This is where you're going to use your scissors again. You are going to be cutting on the short lines from the fold to this line. Don't cut past this line. So watch what I do. And I stop right there. So it's a little flappy thing. Little flap. Now, right about this point, somebody's going to panic and they're going to say, oh, I'm cutting my dragon. You're supposed to cut your dragon. That's why we wanted to make sure it was glued down really well. You are cutting through your dragon because that is part of the project. So cutting from the fold up to just this line here. And you can see why we want it to be semi-thick, about an inch or so that it holds everything together. Now, I really, for parents and adults that are there, try to get the kids to draw the lines on their own, help them out, but let them do it on their own. It's okay if they're a little crooked. Also, let them do the cutting. We're coming up on the one part where I will say, grown-ups, you can help, because this next thing that we're going to do is really kind of tricky. Okay, I'm going to set my scissors aside. So, after the students have done all this cutting, you're going to open it up again. And here's the tricky part, because it's a little bit floppy, and it's been, I'm going to turn him around so he's facing the right way. It's a little floppy. You need to reverse the fold. And so that can be a little bit tricky for the kids to do. So help them reverse the fold. So now it's folded with the dragon on the outside. And at this point, here's where my top-down camera doesn't work as well. You're going to fold it around into a cylinder. You may either tape this end. I like to staple, just because that's what I'm used to doing. Maybe put a couple staples in. And then I'm going to come around to this end. I just fold it over a little bit, and I'm going to, making sure you guys can see, I'm going to staple in here to staple the ends together. And look, I have made a lantern. Now it sits like this. You can see that, and it's really cool how the dragon's face is still on the front, but it has that lantern look to it. Now, why the second piece of paper? You might want to have, lanterns usually have a handle up at the top. So I'm going to set this guy up here, and we are going to make a handle. So simplest way to do that, we're going to come back. I'm going to turn it this way. If you want a long handle, you can go lengthwise. If you want a shorter handle, you can go this way. I think just to be safe, I'm going to go the long way. And I'm going to draw another line. And then I'm going to cut this off. And this is going to be my handle. side. Once again, you could tape your handle in, or staple it. I tend to staple. It's just my style. It's what I'm used to doing. I am going to staple this in. And then I'm going to staple on this side. And it's a little awkward. You might want to help your student with this. Depends on how good they are with a stapler too. And there you have it. You have made a dragon lantern for Lunar New Year. Hope you had fun. Bye.